Laporta drives it deep left field. Cut this off. It's over. Indians win it 7-6.
Welcome to Fastball and Finance with your host, Matt Laporta.
Hey, welcome everybody to Laporta Sports, and today we've got one of our founders, Scott Horvath, with us, and just going to hear from Scott, his baseball experience, and kind of where he's at now, why he's doing what he's doing, and we're grateful to have him on the show and grateful to have him part of the team. So, Scott, thanks for joining us.
Hey, glad to be here, Matt. Good to hear from you.
Yeah. So, Scott, bring us up to speed here. Tell us a little bit about your youth playing days and kind of go through all of it and catch us up to speed where you're at today.
All right. Well, I guess I got to start where I'm from. I'm from Orlando, Florida, Apopka, Florida, actually, which was a huge baseball mecca when I was growing up. We had Zach Greinke coming through there and Michael Taylor, and I mean there was a ton of professional guys rolling through Apopka when I was kind of growing up. They were a few years older than me, but it was people I could kind of look up to.
Yeah. There was a shortstop from Apopka that I played with. Now the name is slipping me. He went to Troy. Dang. He might have went to South Carolina too.
What's his name?
Great guy. I can't remember his name. Anyway, but yeah, Apopka, like you said, had some studs that came out of there.
Exactly, and I Little League, grew up just playing Little League through there, and then the year after I finished my 12-year-old season, the next year they ended up going to the Little League World Series and won the United States World Series, but they ended up losing in the finals. But it was kind of cool to see all the guys I played with end up getting an opportunity to play on TV, and that was a big thing for Apopka, especially the Little League, which is funny because it's changed. I mean, the landscape of how Little League and baseball is now, I don't see as much Little League going on, and it's more travel baseball. Little League's still big, but I think a lot of people at 9 or 10 are playing a lot more travel than they were back when I was kind of growing up. A lot of the travel is just local stuff. So
yeah.
But the cool part for me was I got to play with all those guys, and then actually had to make a decision where I wanted to play high school baseball. And my dad was a teacher at West Orange High School, and he was a coach. He coached at Rollins for multiple years, and then they actually asked him if he wanted the head coaching job over at West Orange, and he ended up taking that job for a couple years, and I ended up deciding, hey, why not go over and try to play for my dad. And when I got there, I was young. I played JV for my freshman year. And then I ended up my dad decided, hey, I don't want to coach my son. There's a lot of backlash parents. He's like, the last thing he wants to do is just have to make decisions about playing me over the other kids. And I think he had enough with some of the parents' issues. So he kind of stepped down, and I actually got to play with the guy who's there now, actually Jesse Marlowe, who coaches for the Scorpions, and he's also not Scorpion. He used to coach for Scorpions. Now he just started Power Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to play for him. I learned quite a bit and actually got a good high school experience. And then after that, I just started looking for colleges. I was a little undersized. For me, I was probably 170 to 180 pounds as a junior and going in to be a senior, and I decided I probably wasn't going to be a big D1 athlete at that point. I wasn't as big. I actually was 5'7", 5'8" in ninth grade, and then I started to sprout up finally as my sophomore and junior year. So, but I got looked by Rollins, and then Tallahassee Community College was an option. And the guy from Rollins ended up going up to Newberry College and gave me a scholarship. So his name's Bob Reichman. He's actually the CEO of the Scorpions right now, which is kind of cool. Just kind of everything went full circle. So little did I know, my freshman year coming in, I wasn't expected to play. I got up there. I was still pretty small, and we did a ton of running, so that didn't help my strength. But I was strong for how I was probably 185 pounds. I was pretty strong for myself, but I probably could have probably gotten a little bit bigger and stronger. It's just kind of the way we ran a lot, and there was a lot of discipline. So growing up, I probably could have done a little bit more of weightlifting. That's why I think working out and doing those things early is a huge benefit to athletes.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so college gets around. I'm not supposed to start my freshman year. I'm on the bench as the backup shortstop, just sitting for the first 3 games. Then I get an opportunity. I pinch hit in like the 3rd or 4th game, and we're down like 10 runs. And I hit a ball off the wall, and then the next thing you know, like I'm getting pinch hit after a pinch hit opportunity. And I think I was like 6 for 7 or some ridiculous thing, and I had a walk-off hit. And it got pretty good, and then next thing you know, they had to put me in the lineup. So I started playing right field and DHing, and then I got some shortstop opportunity as well. But I ended up, I think, leading the team in hitting that year, which is crazy. Started on the bench, and then ended up hitting like 356 or something ridiculous as a freshman. And that being said, I think that kind of set the tone for how I was going to help Newberry for the next few years. So
what was I'm gonna sorry to interrupt, but what was your mindset when you sat the bench those first 3 games? Because there's a lot of kids that might be good in little league, and then they go to high school and they sit the bench and they struggle with it. Their parents struggle with it. I remember I struggled with it when I went to college. But what was your mindset? Because I think this is an important piece for kids and parents to hear. So I'd like to hear your perspective on it.
That's actually an awesome question, because that really was something that, going into the fall at Newberry, they have we brought in a lot of kids because they actually had a JV team as well. So there was 50 kids probably out there at least competing for some sort of spots. And when I would be practicing, I'd be kind of with all the freshmen, and I wasn't sure where they were going with me. And I even called my parents and said, I don't think this is what I want to do. I don't know if this is that we're like on the same page. And I really don't want to just sit here and have to sit and not even be on the varsity roster coming into the spring. I wasn't sure what their even plans were. So I could have quit right there, which is something that I didn't think. I wasn't going to quit, but I definitely a lot of kids would have just said, hey, I'm done. Like, I'll just cash in my freshman year and I'll just see if I can go to another school next year. I think that's something that I was really proud about, like not quitting. I talked to Marlo, and I talked to this other guy, Adam Miller, who was the assistant coach at West Orange. I called him, and they kind of just gave me some perspective and helped me like just say, hey, compete and do your best, and whatever happens, happens. And I think that's what ended up pushing me through becoming obviously a starter. And actually, I think I was all conference, which is pretty cool for that. That conference is actually one of the bigger conferences in Division II baseball. So
how about that?
To be able to go from a guy that wasn't even maybe not making the varsity roster as a freshman to leading the team in hitting and actually making an all-conference team. Mm-hmm. Pretty big swing. So I was pretty proud of myself for just like sticking through. I also had mono, I think, going into the winter of that year, so that didn't help my weight at all. Getting mono is definitely a bad experience, and I think it was a month of just like sweating and just not even being able to like do much. So to be able to come back from not only not knowing if I was going to be on the varsity roster to getting sick to coming back and just battling for that backup shortstop position, and then getting the opportunity to DH and then play right field, which I never played outfield in my life. I was all-time I played shortstop pretty much. So it was pretty cool to see what I did that freshman year. And then I continued to progress throughout the next few years of my college.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's so important, though, that, we kind of circle back to, you sitting the bench and not really thinking you were going to start that freshman year. I think so many kids, we get in this mindset, and we want to start, right? We want to be the guy. Everybody wants to be the guy. But just because you're not the guy your freshman year or the first week or the first month or the first whatever, you have to give yourself a opportunity to grow as a player and as a person. I think the other thing is, I mean, it's just part of the process. Just because you don't start doesn't mean you're not going to get to the next level. Again, I mean, like I said, I didn't start half of my freshman year.
Exactly.
And I still made it to the big leagues.
Exactly.
And I think parents and kids need to realize that. Don't be so narrow-minded about what the current situation is. If your goal is to get to the big leagues, you should not be offended. It should burn and sting a little bit that you're not starting, but you shouldn't be offended and go, I'm going to quit, because baseball is so difficult mentally. If you let that consume you and overwhelm you, which it can, which I'm first to tell you, I mean, it was consuming and overwhelming to me, and I wanted to quit and not play anymore, but I didn't allow that, and we kept working hard and harder, and we achieved our goal of starting and going on further. So I just encourage, again, parents and kids and players, listen to what Scott has to say. He didn't get his head down. He just kept working hard. And when he got his opportunity, he took advantage of it. And we can't take advantage of our opportunities if we're, got a sourpuss look on our face and thoughts and feelings because we didn't start that game. That's the only way that he got in the game. He little by little, that's how I started playing my freshman year. Little by little, I started turning my attitude around better, and I got a pinch hit here, pinch hit there, and I started doing good, and then I started playing more. So it's just really important. Focus on the journey, not the moment as much, right? Like, we want to be in the moment and present in the moment, but also we have to be I think we have to have a long view mindset as we're playing this game.
Exactly. And long term is definitely the goal you should have. And I mean, each and every day you have to have a plan, and kind of stick to that plan and stay consistent with that plan. Don't allow outside forces to affect your day-to-day activities that are going to get you to that goal that you're obviously trying to attain. And for me, actually, what's kind of funny is you talk about, obviously, I had a great freshman year, and then how mental the game is. I came back my sophomore year. Like I said, I was preseason all conference, which is awesome for me coming back as a sophomore. But of course, things get in the way sometimes, and we actually brought in a shortstop from JUCO. His name's Cassio Grider, and I come back my sophomore year thinking, okay, I'm the starting shortstop. The senior of the shortstop last year's gone. I'm going to be the starting shortstop. This is my year. I come back preseason all conference. They have this kid that is a JUCO unbelievable defensive player. And I'm like, oh my God. So they're bringing in a shortstop. And I guess he probably he was a good player. So they ended up taking him. And so I'm coming in, I'm battling with this kid, and I don't beat him out at shortstop. And I don't blame him. I mean, I was probably maybe the better hitter, but he was definitely the better defensive player just because, he was a super athlete. And he ended up getting drafted like 14th round a couple years after that. But Cassio, a great player. But I think that was a good testament to show, like, what I ended up doing that sophomore year was I started trying to press. I tried so hard, and that ended up making me struggle. I had my opportunities, but I didn't get as many opportunities as I should have. And what ended up happening was I tried and pushed myself so hard that it ended up kind of paralyzing me. Mm-hmm. So I and it might actually hurt you in the long run. So I think that was something I learned my sophomore year. I still played a little bit, but I did not have the year I did my freshman year, only because they brought that kid in and I let that affect me. I shouldn't have let happen. And I think it was just, and I have the biggest issue of trying too hard at points, like trying to make an at bat. I mean, I'd try too hard sometimes, and instead of just letting the game come to me and overthinking things, that was something at the plate I'd try to overthink, when really you just have to really see the ball and react. I mean, that's when I was at my best. So my sophomore year, to do that was kind of a learning experience, and I hope that can kind of teach some kids, hey, like when you're in a position where you're struggling, sometimes when you're pushing yourself so hard, it might actually be detriment sometimes. So you need to almost sit back and let yourself relax and like not try to overwhelm the situation, and just kind of sit back and just do what you can control and control what you know you can do. So.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I think there's a lot of kids that press in their playing because, you know, they've got be it they've got coaches and parents, and they've got hitting coaches, pitching coaches. They've got so much pressure from the outside world to be successful, which isn't a bad thing. But I think players need to learn how to, again, not press. I mean, I think we all do it as athletes, but the ones that are really successful and really good, they know how to keep that emotion in check and not press. And like you said, let the game come to them. And they go out there and play and react, right? Like they're not thinking through, well, how do I hit this ball, right? Where are my hands? Where's the bat go? They're reacting. They trust the ability that they've been given. They trust the fact that they've worked their butts off, you know, and now they go out there and compete, right? When you're on a field playing a game, you've got to be thinking about competing, not thinking about your mechanics. And I see it too much where we get, I mean, I was a perfect example. I would think about my mechanics more sometimes than I would about playing the game. And that is a detriment to us. And we start to press.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's a great point. So kind of finish the college up here. Did you, what was the next step for you? Did you go play a little bit of pro baseball, or was it time to transition out?
So it's kind of interesting how that all plays into each other. Like how my freshman year, coming from not starting to being all conference, and then the next year not doing as well, pressing more. Coming to my senior year, I was slotted. I was starting shortstop at that point for sure, and I was excited to start as that senior year. And for some reason, I think Coach Reichman had something against me. Maybe I went home early to like Christmas break or something. I don't know. He ended up taking something out on me, and I remember not starting. We played Barry in Miami. We were playing Barry, and he had me on the bench my senior year, the first game. And I'm thinking, this is ridiculous. Like, what did I get to deserve this? I've worked my entire senior year to come and not start my senior year. I was like, I was done. Like, I even told my parents, I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, I don't know what vendetta he has against me. I want to walk out right now and not even play ever again. Mm-hmm. And so I actually, so you know Michael Taylor, and I called the Taylors, and Michael Taylor was playing. He got drafted already. He's playing, I think, for the Phillies or whatever. And it's February, so he's about to go back to camp. And I called them, and I'm like, guys, don't come down. You guys were going to come down and watch me play at Lynn University the next day. I said, please don't come down. Like, this is miserable. I've worked really hard, but I don't want you guys to come down and see me on the bench. So I told him that. And, of course, I'm on the bench to start against Lynn, who was the defending national champions from the year before, which is pretty cool. We're playing Lynn at Lynn, and I'm sitting there, 3 innings, they sit. And then finally Coach Reichman goes, Horvath, you're in the game. Go to short. And I was like, thank God. Thank God. Okay, so I get in the game. I proceed to go 5 for 6 with 2 home runs and a ball off the top of the wall. And I'm like, this is unbelievable. I called the Taylors, told them not to come.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is unbelievable. Like, I got the opportunity and I seized it. I really did seize it. And I think all the experiences that I had throughout my entire college career got me prepared for all the adversity to push through. And I proceeded to just tear my entire senior year. I tore it up. I mean, I think I had like 5 or 6 home runs at a certain point, and I was hitting like 400. And then my last, I think my last couple of weeks of the season, I don't know if I got out. Like, that's how great I was seeing the ball. I ended up finishing like 429, and I had such a great year. And we actually had a pitcher that was supposed to be a top round pick, and he had Tommy John like the second week of the season. So any scout that was coming to the games, like, just stopped coming, which was unfortunate for me at that point. But and the one thing that I thought was our coach was kind of out the door. He was pretty much done with Newberry College. Mm-hmm. So he quit. He was quitting. So he wasn't really helping me get any opportunities. Like, so scouts weren't really coming. They really didn't know like what I was doing. So when I got a chance to get into the draft, I didn't get drafted. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't get drafted. What is going on? And I had to kind of make a decision at that point. What do I want to do? So I was actually thinking about possibly playing pro ball, and my dad actually was like, hey, like, there's definitely an opportunity here. And he's like, he had a lot of connections. I mean, he knew, he played AAA for the Yankees, and he did it all too. But I just, I think after going through everything with Coach Reichman and doing everything that I did, I had an opportunity to be a coach at Apopka High School with Chuck Shaw, who I actually worked with every summer. And he basically said, hey, like, you can coach with me, and I think maybe coaching might be the way you kind of get back. Mm-hmm. And I ended up deciding, hey, well, why not just start coaching and figure it out from there. So that's what I did. I started coaching at Apopka High School, which I was local to that area anyway. So it was kind of a good fit. But I mean, I'm not going to ever look back and say, hey, why didn't I try? I think everything that led up to that point kind of told me, hey, like, you need to help in some other way, you know? So
yeah, definitely. You can take some of those valuable life lessons and share them with other kids and other players. And I mean, that's the reason why we're doing what we're doing with Laporta Sports, is we want to take the knowledge, the ups and downs that we've faced in this game, and share that with kids and with parents and with coaches, and let them know that there's a resource here with guys that have gone through it. They've been in the highs and the lows and the goods and the bads, and we're just here to help. And so I think you might not be coaching at that high school anymore, but you know, we're coaching in a way for sure, helping guys, helping guys through those times and learning how to deal with them. So yeah, that's great. So follow up, what you think about Laporta Sports. You know, we've been doing this now for several months. I want to hear your perspective, your excitement on it. I think it's going to be a great resource for a lot of young players. So talk a little bit about Laporta Sports.
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, the fact that I got to kind of get with Matt and Cody Neer on and kind of get together and start talking about doing this, I think we kind of got really excited about what the possibilities were of being able to add value in every single aspect to the game. I mean, honestly, we're trying to put out as much content as possible to allow kids to learn, and then we're also providing great resources, as in batting gloves, bats. I mean, we're trying to give kids opportunities to just kind of get to know us and a brand, and then we just want to become a trusted brand in the baseball industry. I think that's something that we're going to do, because we're not doing it to just make a ton of money. We're doing it to add value to the players that we're selling to. And at the end of the day, you don't have to be our customer. We'd much rather you just kind of listen and follow and just learn as much as you can. And then if everything works out, I think we're going to end up growing this brand to something where it's going to be one of the bigger brands in the baseball world, because just of what we stand for. And I think that's the biggest thing, is it stands for more than just a big money market thing. It's more of how can we help you? That's really how I see it. So.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's the consensus and the holistic approach of the whole organization here is how can we help you, right? We've gone through it. We've done it. You know, I've been to the big leagues. You know, wish I was still there playing, but you know what? That opportunity is gone. And now who knows? You know, with the hip replacement, I might try to make a comeback. But you know, those days are gone for us. And so I think it's extremely important for parents and kids and coaches to understand that we want to be there for you guys, and we want to see you get to that next level, right? It adds nothing to my life if you don't make it, right? I want to see you make it. I want to see you get whatever you know, we're talking to our listeners right now, whatever their goal is, be it, hey, I just want to play on the high school team. Great. We'll be here for you. I want to play in college. Great. We'll be here for you. I want to play in the big leagues. Awesome. We'll make it, you know, we'll do what we can to help you, right? Other brands, and you know, they're not talking about it like this, right? They just pumping products. We want to create something. We want to create a resource that really just helps kids, man. That's honestly what it comes down to. I mean, that's where my heart is. And, you know, we don't have the ability to coach 500 different players or 1,000 different players, but through social media, through, you know, the internet these days, we can. We have the ability to reach 1,000 kids, and hopefully one piece of information maybe changes one kid's life, right? And because of whatever they heard from us or somebody else on the show, they made it to the big leagues. I mean, I know that there's a bunch of things that people would tell me, and there's a few things that clicked and that still stick with me 20 years from the time that I've heard them. So I think that's really cool, man. What your involvement is with us and what you're doing, and you're still coaching, right? You're still what team do you coach for again?
Yeah, so I help with the Burn organization. Mark Guthrie, who's a
ex-big leaguer, right? Son's a shortstop for the Gators.
Yeah, he just got drafted last year and plays for the Phillies now. But he's just such a good guy. I mean, he's asked me to come back every year, and I just tell him, I mean, I'll get back as much as I can. Not to mention, I love coaching. I think that's something that that's one of my good talents. I've actually coming out and just kind of learning how to coach. I mean, it's not as easy as people think, because it's more than just knowing the game. You got to know how to teach certain players certain things. Everyone's not the same. You can't teach every kid the same way. So I've learned over the years to kind of take each kid as an individual and not just try to push a certain way on every kid. So that's something that I've learned. But I think for us, I mean, the platform that we have here will allow us to help as many people. And that's really what I'm excited about. I mean, I actually volunteer coach at a high school now. Like, I probably give up at least 10 to 15 hours of my week during the spring to volunteer coaching. And I didn't get paid last year to do it. I just loved it. So I think that's really what we care about. We want to help as much people as possible. And actually the batting gloves and the bats are actually a really cool thing, because that actually started it. People wanted these custom batting gloves, and we wanted to provide those for people. And next thing you know, like we had a pretty good manufacturer, and then we were working that. And next thing you know, people wanted bats, and we have bats now. So, I mean, it all kind of works into each other. We want to just provide as much as we can. A good price point for custom batting gloves. I mean, that was a huge thing. There's not that many custom teams like custom batting gloves going around right now. So I think if we can kind of get into that market and help people, help teams, that'll be another thing that we can do. So.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, excuse me, I think, you know, it's, to me, if I'm a player and I'm looking at our company here, and this is not really a sale, right? But it is, because at the end of the day, I want to find something that, man, if a big leaguer, ex-big leaguer would use this stuff, like, I know it's got to be good. And that's kind of our objective, is to make sure that our stuff is the best quality that you can get, right? It's going to be the best. You know, if I wouldn't use it when I played in the big leagues, I don't want to sell it to you guys. that's kind of our thought. We want what's best for the players. And so we're really excited about that. And we're really excited to have Scott with us on the team. And we're fired up about this new venture. So, Scott, I have a couple more questions and we'll wrap it up here. What is the biggest, lesson or biggest piece of advice you would give kids? Take up 30 seconds and kind of answer that question for our listeners.
All right. Biggest advice I would give kids, in a baseball perspective, I guess, since we're in the baseball world, I would give kids the fact that they need, if they are driven to play at that higher level, they need to have goals and they need to prepare each day. I think the one thing that kids don't understand is that it takes multiple habits to create good mechanics. And what happens is you just need to kind of set up routines and allow yourself to do those daily. And that's the only way you're going to get to that higher level. And I've coached, this is coming from a coach who's coached elite athletes. I mean, I've coached kids that went to all sorts of high D1 schools. Matt was obviously a high D1 performer, but he can attest to this. You have to put the right routines together and do the things daily to be able to progress. If you want to do that, that's what you need to do. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to do it when I want. Like, that's not how it works. You literally have to be dedicated on a day by day, week to week basis, because that's the only way you're going to get to that level that you really want to get to. So.
Yeah, that is huge. I think you have to have the consistency. And it's, I'm actually looking on my little bookshelf here, and one of the books that's sticking out right now, it's called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. And essentially what you're talking about, Scott, and what we've all done to be successful is the consistency. I remember when I playing high school baseball, I was up at, I'm at the high school field at 5 a.m., 5:15, 5:30 in the morning. I'm there practicing, right? I did this with one of the guys, Nate Spears. He played in the big leagues too. And that was the consistency. And we did that day in and day out. Christmas, it didn't matter what day it was. We kept working.
Exactly.
And so that presents that compound effect. So it's little by little, it's just little deposits every day that we put into our game. And that's what Scott's saying.
Yeah, and it takes sacrifice. It really does. I mean, you almost have to sacrifice yourself. For me, it's actually a pretty good story. My senior year in high school, I remember, like you said, you were up at 5 or 6 working out. We had team workouts at like 5:30, and I remember I was the president or whatever. I was head of student council at that time, and we had a shop that we had to open up every day, and the shop had to be open by 6:30 or whatever. But everything had to be set up before. So I would get up at 3:30 because I lived 30 minutes away at least from the school, and I would drive and I'd go to Dunkin' Donuts at 4:00 when they first opened up. I would get the donuts, I would drive them to school, and then I would start baking cookies and getting everything else ready. And then the next thing I had to do was go to weights. I did weights for an hour, came back, ran an entire store for 45 minutes before school started. And then I would go through a full day of school and then do baseball. So, that's major sacrifice. And I'm looking back now as a senior in high school, I don't know if there's too many kids that would have done that. I really don't. And I was super dedicated. I think that's really testament to why I was successful in college and was able to do what I did. I think that really does say a lot about people when you're able to sacrifice sleep and time and to do things that other people probably wouldn't be doing, getting up at 3:30 or 4, grade and do other stuff. So.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you got to find a way to separate yourself from others when you're playing. What is going to make you stand out? Why are you different than somebody else in the game of baseball? That's what you got to figure out. So, we just thank Scott for being on the show today. It was a great time, and hopefully all the young listeners out there, can listen and get some advice from Scott and from Laporta Sports here. So thanks again, everyone, and have a great day.